In this video, we're going to outline the processes involved in creating a task, then logging into as the user who has been assigned that task, following them through the process of actually doing some work, and then updating the task status back in the client. So the first thing we'll do is, as our administrator, we'll just create a task under this dog character group. We have different ways of viewing tasks in the client. We have a standard list view, and then we have also a Gantt chart view of each task. So our groups are basically just like containers to hold different tasks. So we have our dog character task. If we double click that, we have no task inside that. And then we also can see that represented here in the Gantt view. So what we'll do is just create a character concept of this dog character. We'll click Control A, and we'll just call this task concept dog, and the type of task that it is a concept task. Right now we won't associate it to any shots or sequences. Give it a quick set of instructions, and we'll just give it this time to start and Wednesday to be done. And we'll assign a user, and we'll then add this task. If we click that drop down, we now see our task has been loaded in our Gantt view. If we reload our group over here, or we could also have this toggle button selected so that every time we switch views we'll have things reload. So back in our Gantt view, if we want to adjust the actual start or end times, we can just do so by dragging the task, and also we can edit the amount done. As an administrator, we have the ability to do this, but a user that doesn't have the ability to edit the tasks besides the progress will only be allowed to edit this % done. Okay, so we have our concept dog task created, and we'll now log in as our user who this is assigned to. Now we're logged in as our user who has been assigned the task, so we'll just click My Tasks, and we can see the concept dog character shows up in the task list here. Now we can also have the user set their own preferences as to what color rows they would like to show, depending on the different statuses here for their task, so they can easily identify which tasks they need to work on now. So we'll double click our task. Below here, if we maximize this, we're working with a small screen, so we'll just be maximizing and minimizing some screens here. We can see our task information, and we'll get started. And all we have to do is click the clock time button. We have our start work status chosen already, and by default we have this checkbox selected that says change status to in progress when clocking in. So it'll just take us one click to get started. Our status has changed to in progress, and now we can begin. So now, after the user has maybe created a few concepts, this type of task really doesn't need anything imported to the server at this time until maybe the task is complete. So we're not sure if the task will be complete. So what we'll do is just add a preview asset, because we want to get some information back from our feedback back from different users. So we'll just click Update Preview Asset. We don't have any pictures of dogs on our computer right now, so just for the demo purposes we'll just select this default Windows image, and we can see that. So now we pretty much think we're done, or we're waiting to get some comments back from other users. So what we can do then is just wait and maybe send an email through the system asking someone to check out our progress, and then they can then leave comments right here in this area. But we feel that we're done, so we're going to submit this to the approval queue. But first we'll just mark our status to, or clock our timeout. So just click that, and then we can go to Edit Status, and we will change our task status to awaiting approval. And we think we're 100% done, so we'll just change that. and we can then send a notification to the user who has assigned this task, but we won't do that for now. We're going to just rely on it going to the approval queue. So we'll click Update Task, and now what we'll do is log in as the user who has assigned this task. Now we're logged in as our user who has created this task, so we'll just click the approval queue to see what's waiting to be approved. And then we have different elements that we can submit to the approval queue, but we're interested right now in tasks. So we can see that our concept dog task has been submitted by our user, and we can see the different information, and we can also then double click this task and maximize this view so we can see a little bit better and take a look at our preview asset. If there were assets that have been imported at this time, we can then see them under associated assets, take a look at them. But since the user did not actually import any assets to the server, we just have our preview asset to look at. So we think this is pretty good and we're ready to approve this, so we'll just go back to our approval queue and then click our status that we'd like to update it to, mark it approved. We'll then check this box to send an email notification about the status change in the approval queue, and we'll also leave this checkbox opened, add comment dialog, when we click update. So click update, we can add a comment now to this task, say this is great, and then click submit. So now our task disappears from the approval queue, and our user would then be notified that it has been approved. So we'll just log in one more time as our user who has actually worked on the task. And when we're logging in, we're notified that we have some new unread mail, so we'll check that. And we get a mail about our concept dog notifying us that the status has been changed in the approval queue and it's been marked to approved. So that's great, we're done with that task. But now we'd like to import an asset to actually associate with this task so that others can have access to it and then use it along the pipeline. So we'll just go back to our My Task button again. We'll load up our task. And there are two different ways to import assets, but since we're already loading our task and we're here, we'll just go to Edit Task and then Link Assets to Task. So we don't have anything in the project yet. We don't have anything in our local workspace, so what we will have to do before we do this is actually put an asset in our local workspace. So we'll just go to our Assets tab here and we will click an image and just drag it in to our workspace here. Make sure we're actually on a path. Double click the root project directory there and then drag our asset in here. So now we have something right in the root. If we can actually then go to import to PO from here and give it an associated task, but we'll go back to our task view and do that. Click Edit Task, then go to Link Assets to Task, and then navigate to our file, click Select, Finished, then complete the link. It notified us then that this isn't part of the server, so we're going to have to import it. So we could have really done all this from the other screen, but this is just to show the different ways you can do this. And by doing it this way, our task will automatically be loaded in here. And then we'll just say, give this a comment. And we'll say that this is the final concept. And we'll give it a type, an asset type. And click Import. And then we can close this out. So now if we reload our task, we'll see that we have an associated asset, that file we just imported, right with our task. So we can then track assets along the way. So this is just an overview of different ways you can use the client to work on tasks and then update the status along the way. There's different ways to work, but hopefully this gave you a good idea of how you can work.